Hello guys and welcome to Combat Corner Top 5s. My name is Kobe.
I'm Jackson.
And this week what we've got for you is our top 5 GOAT list, greatest of all time list. We both don't know what the other one has written, as usual. So this is going to be a live reaction.
They could be exactly the same once again, but
you never know.
If you watched last week's video, we
completely different.
Yeah, we had none of the same answers.
No. So I'm going to go first, and I'm going to get into it right now. So we'll go from 5 to 1. At number 5 for me, I was going to do an honorable mention this time, but I decided against it. But at number 5 for me is Daniel Cormier. DC, the big man on the commentary booth. I put him here because he is a double champ. He dominated at heavyweight before going to light heavyweight. Only lost to John Jones, obviously, at light heavyweight. Had a good title reign at light heavyweight, and then he obviously switched back up to heavyweight, beat Stipe for the title, defended against Derek Lewis. Then he kind of got on a little bit older, and you know, him and Stipe had their trilogy, and towards the end, you know, he wasn't quite as good as he used to be. But I think DC is, you know, the second best heavyweight / light heavyweight of all time, personally, and I think the guy is an absolute legend. So I'm putting him in at number 5. At number 4, Anderson Silva. Anderson Silva's reign at middleweight was absolutely insane and fantastic and unprecedented at the time. We'd never seen someone run through a division like that. Someone who was willing to pop up to 205 from 185 just every now and then, just to get a win. Absolutely demolished the people at 205, just like he was doing at 185. I think his title reign was 10 fights, which is insane, beating the best of the best opponents, and ended up losing his title when he got a little bit cocky against Chris Weidman, got knocked out, and then obviously breaking his leg, and he was never really the same after that. But that period of time when he was the 185 champ, jumping up to 205 every now and then, that guy was untouchable. Exciting knockouts, finishes most of the time, few decisions that were a bit this and that, but that guy is a legend. And he's coming in at number 4. The number 3, John Jones. Putting him in at number 3. And the reason Anderson Silva and Jones are 3 and 4 respectively and not higher is because they've both had steroid controversies and other controversies within their career which tarnish their careers a little bit. Look, if John Jones never tested positive whatsoever in his life, he'd be number 1 for me. He would. The guy has beaten everyone. He's beaten people in 3 different eras of fighting. He's still doing it today. He's a double champ. He went up and won it at heavyweight, and he's still going. This guy is insane, and he's one of my favorite fighters, one of my favorite personalities as well. The guy is an athletic freak. When he was in his prime, he just made everything look absolutely, you know, effortless. But there's some things that have held him back in my list. You know, the steroids, the controversies and that. So, like I say, probably would have been number 1 if it wasn't for that. At number 2, Demetrius Mighty Mouse Johnson. Very underrated fighter in my eyes. Maybe not underrated in the hardcore fan base, but, you know, to the casual fan base, he was never a big star. But this guy dominated at 125. Most consecutive title defenses of anyone in the UFC. Did it also in 1FC. The guy's consistently improving still to this day as he ages. You know, this guy, he's just so creative. His fight IQ is so ridiculous. His speed, his ability to change things up when he needs to. The ability of him to just not really get touched in his title reign at all. And, you know, he obviously lost the title to Henry Cejudo in a very close fight. And then went over to 1FC, and he's been dominating there too. This guy, you know, he's an absolute legend, and he's an asset to the sport as well. But at number 1, I think it's pretty obvious who I'm going to put at number 1 now. George St. Pierre. The OG when it came to mixing up the martial arts. Someone once said, his coach once said, George focuses on 3 things. He's either going to jab you, he's either going to feint, or he's going to go for a double leg. One of those 3. And it's simple, but it worked. George was amazing with his boxing. His jab was supreme. His takedowns and his wrestling was just out of this world. and the way he confused his opponents and, just took away all their tools. And no controversies. Great guy. Absolute role model to anyone under him. He obviously came back and he won that second belt. Maybe it's not as impressive as it sounds on paper, because, he obviously came back and beat one of the worst middleweight champions at the end of his career. But this guy, you can't say much about Georges St-Pierre. He is the GOAT. And that's it from me. What do you have
I
to
like
say
that
about
list.
You do?
I like that list. Yeah, it's fairly similar to what I've got written down.
Mhm.
I mean the numbers are slightly changed, and I have I think 2 different names on my list that are a bit out there, possibly. And a lot of people won't agree with me, but as we have kind of spoken about on here before, I am probably the more casual side of the podcast here,
Right.
being more of a recent fan of the sport. But starting off my list, I have Alexander Volkanovski, currently just ticking over 1,500 days in his title reign. The guy has demolished everyone in the featherweight division that they've put in front of him, having a couple of close fights there with Max Holloway at the start. There's no denying that, but managing to take home the win every single time. And Max Holloway was a guy that would have been on this list if Volkanovski never showed up. So, I mean, I've got him in there. He's also beaten every single previous featherweight champion apart from Conor McGregor, which is a notable thing to focus on. So he's my number 5. Coming in at number 4, Jose Aldo. And this kind of, I toss between 4 and 5 a little bit there. I mean, obviously Volk having a win over Aldo, but most likely past his prime. If you wanna kind of go into that. But Jose Aldo was undefeated for over a decade. He won 18 straight fights, and arguably brought the featherweight division to the UFC, which is a huge feat considering what it has turned into now. It is one of the most stacked divisions that we've seen. The champions that have come out of there have just been phenomenal in terms of dominance. So he's coming in for me at number 4. At number 3, I have got Mighty Mouse Demetrius Johnson, for what he managed to do in the flyweight division. Obviously having that loss to Henry Cejudo before he moved over to, like you say, ONE FC. But that is a very close fight that a lot of people have kind of tossed up on whether he actually won that or not. It's one of those close decisions that there's arguments for both guys. But the dominance that he had in that flyweight division, unfortunately, I think is a lot of the reason why he got pushed out by the UFC. It was just becoming too much of a stagnant division. Anyone that they put up against him was just levels below him in terms of skill set, until Henry, obviously. But yeah, he's coming in for me at number 3, just over pure dominance. Number 2, and this is quite funny because you've obviously given this whole steroid controversy quite a lot of weight over your list, and that's fair enough. But my number 2 is Anderson Silva. To this day, holds the longest title reign in the UFC, amounting to 2,457 days, which is unheard of considering, like I just said, Volk has just clocked over 1,500 days, and it feels like he has been champ forever now. So, yeah, but like you say, Anderson just had a level of dominance and just such an exciting style. It brought so many eyes to the sport. There's rhymes about him in rap songs. Do you know what I mean? Like, he was just such an exciting fighter to watch from every angle that you're watching from, like he brought something different to every fight. But yeah, unfortunately towards the end of his career, did get a bit cocky and kind of maybe stuck around a little bit too long, which I think in some people's eyes, takes something away from his career, all in all. But if you look at that that period of dominance that he held that belt for, it's incredible. And the people that he managed to do it against, they weren't, they weren't sloppy competition. They were very, very decent fighters who brought a lot to the table in terms of skill set, and he managed to deal with all of it. Number 1, I have John Jones down. This guy's been handing out beatings in and out of the cage his whole career. And I think there's so many people in the sport now that consider this guy the GOAT. It is GSP not getting onto my list kind of didn't sit with me too well. But like I said, I'm a pretty recent fan to the sport. I have unfortunately not really, I wasn't around for the GSP era. Of course, I'm not really I wasn't here for most of the John Jones era, but just in what he's managed to do in the last couple of years and his comeback, moving up to heavyweight and just absolutely annihilating Cyril Gane. It was just so impressive. And I think there's still some questions that he will answer in terms of this upcoming fight with Stipe that could kind of just cement his name at the top. I'm not going to let some dodgy dick pills tarnish these guys' careers. Kobe may be sitting in a bit of a different boat, but that is my top 5.
I know. Yep, fair enough. First of all, I tossed up putting Aldo and also Volkanovski on my list, but they just missed out purely because Aldo, like, people say that he was past his prime when he started losing to these top guys, but he was only 31 when he first fought Max Holloway and 32 the second time. So he was still a young guy. And then he obviously lost to Volk. And then he moved down a division, and he obviously had a lot of success at that division against the top guys. So I think what happened with Aldo and why he isn't on my list is he faced better opponents eventually in Volkanovski, Conor McGregor, Max Holloway, Jody Yarn. Eventually he faced the top of the top, and he just wasn't quite there. And the game kind of outgrew him. And that's why I didn't put him there. Volkanovski, I might towards the end of his career, depending on what happens in this next few fights, he could knock off DC in my list. So I understand those 2 picks for sure. The fact that you didn't put GSP in there, it is what it is.
There's 5 people. You know what I mean?
There's 5 people, but
there's going to be other names out there.
That's a big one for me. I do think that GSP should be on any top 5 list, but if it's your opinion,
I had him there as an honorable mention.
Honorable mention. All right,
you can see it there at the bottom.
Just one little GSP. But anyway, this has been our top 5 list. Let us know what you think. Put your top 5s in the comments, and we'll reply with a bit of this or a bit of this. And yeah, have a wonderful day. Goodbye. See you later.